Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. How you doing? It's me. It's Reality Check Live. I'm Reality Check. This is Spleen Squeezins is the name of the show. And there's nobody in channel. I'm starting to stress. I really am. Okay, let's see here. Looking for my stencil. I've got cheese sticks in the toaster oven. Got marinara in the fridge. I'm happy. Well, technically I'm happy. I have really got to get a better way of lighting this trailer of this. I need a... I don't know. Okay, it's me. I'm live. I'm sort of live. I'm barely live. I'm kicking. I'm breathing. I'm doing something. Okay, this playlist is boring. Not the audio, the visual playlist. I've been playing this over and over and over again. We need some new stuff. Oh, here we go. Here's some stuff that hasn't been up here in a while. At least I don't think it has. Peculiar. Okay. Hello. Hello, we got Jonathan Kruger. We've got Final Legend Zero. Dun dun dun. Watching in the channel. I'm just adding images, trying to change up the slideshow here. Just to clarify, some of these images are drawn by me, most of them are not. Just to clarify. I don't want people getting the idea that, I created all this stuff. These images here. Here. For those of you who have been following along on the Gamergate thing, you know that what's her name? The two main figureheads in the whole Gamergate scandal appeared before the UN to lament the fact of cyber violence. They put their things on the internet and somebody disagreed with them, and they're women, and somebody disagreed with them. Somebody's got to do something. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have no pity for these two. They're skanks. They're loathsome women. They're the Dolores Umbridges of the internet, okay? Him. Okay. The Sweet Mash Chronicles, yeah. Moving on to fan fictions of the My Little Pony, the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and Button Mash. Am I wrong? Was it not cute? Was it not funny? Pee your pants funny. Of course, in the later chapters, the writer sort of goes off the rails. He takes Button's mom and she basically he takes Cheerilee and Button's mom and just terrible writing. Let's be fair. Now, Cheerilee, what we've seen on her in the show is not very flattering. She's what we would call a very poor disciplinarian. She's in a one-room schoolhouse, and she still can't seem to keep a lid on the biggest brat and bully there. And she lets the kid's mother walk all over her. And just sad. Of course, nobody in that town seems to have clue one about dealing with bullies, as we've seen. But basically, the writer has Cheerilee so oblivious that she catches the Cutie Mark Crusaders fighting back, and takes Diamond Tiara's word on things. And punish. They're not even in school. That's the thing of it. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, she's their teacher. She's not their owner. I'm sorry. Any teacher outside of school is not going to give a rat's behind how your kid behaves, no matter how good a teacher she is. It's none of her business. But it's Saturday. She comes outside and sees the Cutie Mark Crusaders and Diamond Tiara fighting because Diamond Tiara picked on Button Mash. And that was just one step too far for Sweetie Belle. And so she punishes the Cutie Mark Crusaders, lets Diamond Tiara go free. And it's not even a school day. And then Button's mom hears about it and goes ballistic, literally. It just, the writing just sort of nosedives at that point. But up to that point, it was a fairly good story. I pointed out, I tried to give the guy, I seriously tried to give the guy advice, this really doesn't work here, okay? And, try. Yes, I can be nice. I can be. I just don't choose to be most times. But, I tried to give him a little tip there. This doesn't make any sense for her to, she's out of, both these characters, the way they were behaving made no sense. Yeah, she blew up part of the school. And I'm like, she's supposed to be, that's her cutie mark. She's a mom. She is the mom. And this is not a mom thing to do. Do you get what I'm saying? Oh, he's been still writing it? Well, I'll have to see if the writing's, if he's pulled out of that nosedive. Well, it looks like I've already read all the chapters. Oh well. Anyway. Let's see. Is this... hold on. The image thingy seems to be stuck. There we go. There we go. Yeah. It's one of the commissions I did. I'm trying to think, but nothing's happening. Just one of those things. Okay, Nikola Tesla was voluntarily chaste despite numerous women vying for his affections, some even madly in love with him because he believed sex interfered with his ability to think scientifically. He should have got a woman. Because, forget thinking scientifically, he couldn't think economically. One of the greatest minds humanity's ever known, and he died a pauper. Meanwhile, Thomas Edison. Now everybody badmouths Thomas Edison. I'm sure he was no sainted angel. Come on. But he did have something that many inventors do not. That is business savvy. There is a reason Thomas Edison has been well known for so long, while Nikola Tesla languished in obscurity for decades. That was because Nikola Tesla didn't know his butt from his elbow when it came to managing his creations, his animus. He basically let Marconi and other people walk away with his inventions and his patents and copyrights, and he said, but anyway, And for all his genius, if he'd have had a wife, he might have come out a lot better. He might have. If for no other reason, the wife was saying, "Who's going to pay these bills?" But, okay, what am I thinking? I'm trying to think, but nothing's happening, really. Chris Windows Commission. Let's see, what do we got? Yes, we were working on Chris Windows Commission last time. Might as well work on that some more. I'm just sitting here looking at the screen going, oh my. Some days I really don't know what's wrong with me, you know? You know, I had another atheist commenting in my comments section for my stories, and you know what standard response 107/A dot 3. Well, atheists don't need to be threatened with some cosmic boogeyman to be good. Yeah, have you ever heard that one? Have you ever heard that one? Atheists bragging about, basically bragging about how they didn't need to be threatened. Right? They don't need to be threatened by some cosmic boogeyman in order to be a morally decent human being. And I'm like, seriously, have you ever heard one say that to you? I don't need to be threatened with punishment to be a good person. Okay, first off, you're bragging. Second off, you're lying. And third, I suppose you were grown in a vat then? You just sprang, fully formed and dressed in head-to-toe armor, like Athena from the brow of Zeus. With a Miss Manners journal under one arm and a copy of Subjective Ethics for Beginners under the other. Fully memorized, of course. Look, unless you were grown in a vat and programmed through a USB port in the back of your head, yes, somebody had to threaten you with punishment to teach you to behave. Your mama's gray hairs are proof of that. Why does nobody call them on this? Well, I'm an atheist. I don't need to be threatened with force or with a horrible punishment in order to behave. You liar. Anybody who has spent 5 minutes watching over a 3-year-old knows exactly what I'm talking about. Any parent knows what a human being who doesn't care about the consequences acts like. You have to spend 18 to 21 years paddling it into an average person's backside that, yes, there are consequences to your actions. And they gonna hate. We know what people act like when they think that there are no consequences. We've buried a few of them. And a person who is an atheist is basically proclaiming that there are no consequences, that a real, complete atheist says there is no final authority, and all consequences are the same. All actions have the same end consequence. In the long run, we all are consigned to oblivion. And we've seen what atheists do when they get in power. A person who tells you he's an atheist is basically proclaiming that he doesn't believe that there is any final absolute morality, and that subjective morality is just another way of saying I only behave the way the majority force me to. And we've seen what they do when they get in charge of a culture. I'm sorry, 250 million dead in the last century alone. Killed by their own government. And you'll notice it's never a liberal democracy. You know, it's never a liberal atheist democracy. It's always a totalitarian state. You ever notice that? And some jackass comes out here, oh, well, the majority of people who live in, like, Poland or in Australia are atheists. Yeah, but they're not the ones running the culture. Yes, you can have a majority of anything in a country. It's the ones who are in charge. It's the ones who are the ones who are in control that decide the culture. I hate to be the obvious one, but Australia. Look at the way Australia is going. Look at the way America is going. Look at the way that all these other countries that loud and proud about how everybody's loud and proud about how many atheists they have, and they're hurtling towards the cliff. I've talked about that before. I've talked about the social. When I've talked about the coming collapse, social, cultural, economic, political, that is brewing right now in Western civilization. So no, don't brag too loud. The Weimar Republic was a Jim Dandy place right up until the last second. And next thing you know, they're building death camps faster than you could say Sig Heil. Societies perish with astonishing speed. But you can't explain this to it. They don't want to hear it. They don't. What I picture is a spoiled little girl, with her hair in little curls, right in the middle of her forehead, standing in the middle of her classroom. My mommy says I'm a little angel, and she never has to punish me, get me to behave. And you're going, you're right. Either your parents did take you to task, or they raised a sociopath. Sorry, the music. This is it's basically a free playlist on YouTube. I just play it so that we're not just sitting here listening to white noise all the time. He's a left-handed archer. I wonder how many people are going to notice that. I used to do archery when I was younger. I bet a regular the professional artist would have thrown a conniption fit seeing how I did it. But ironically, I was doing it right and didn't know it. Let me. I didn't realize I didn't have it switched over to the transfer. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing. Left-handed archer. Yay. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha. Where did I... I'm surprised nobody's made a real. I'm surprised that nobody has really commented on the whole jumbo moon boot thing I've got going with the Questors and with the Raconums. Kind of wish I'd waited. I did mention why, but I kind of wish I'd waited just to see what people's honest reaction was to the style. Everybody makes fun of Hawkeye for being in the Avengers. Nobody really reflects on the fact, actually in the comics, as I recall, he's supposed to have superhuman vision and accuracy. It's not it's not a flashy power, so nobody recognizes it. I think it depends on which writer. As to whether it's canon or not, but he's supposed to have like unbelievable aim. There's one comic where he breaks out of prison. He's I don't know if it was one of the Ultimates comics. I think it was, and I hate the Ultimates lineup. But there was one episode where he had been violently beaten, and he was manacled to a chair, and he escaped by, for starters, by spitting his own fingernail into one of the guards' eyes. He's not, he's no scrub. He and the Black Widow are both trained super spies, and they're top percentile, just for starters. And depending on which writer is Hawkeye has like I said, superhuman eyesight and accuracy. Not in the same level as like Bullseye from Daredevil comics, but still seriously up there. People are very selective about what ancient martial arts they respect, you know? Asian martial arts? Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's... nobody nobody realizes that there are European styles of martial arts that have been studied almost as long, if not longer. Many of the martial arts of the West got lost. Just dwindled into nothing with the advent of firearms. But they do exist, and they are quite impressive. I showed you that clip of that one archer. That just shows, whether or not that's a stupid argument. Oh, he's a stunt archer. It's not like he turned into an elf or something. He's a human being, and he just did something that other human beings said was impossible. So, like I said last time, there are organizations, groups that are dedicated to relearning and uncovering the lost martial arts of Western culture. Good example being the use of the shillelagh. It's a surprising, they dug up old books that illustrated the techniques of this. Methods with the quarterstaff, the pike, the shillelagh, the broadsword, the longsword, the greatsword, the sword and dagger. The schools of the medieval period were just as complex and effective as anything the Asians came up with. But the old joke: an expert is a guy from more than 100 miles away with a briefcase. The further away somebody comes, the more revered their mystic, pseudo mystic knowledge is. Their ancient wisdom and all this other crap. I remember Terry Pratchett made fun of that tendency himself. Described a mystic order of monks who traveled thousands and thousands of miles to sit and listen to the reverent wisdom of some little old housewife in the suburbs of Ankh-Morpork. And most of her wise and mysterious sayings consisted of things like, "Get off my lawn, you crazy coots! Out of me shrubbery! I'm calling the sheriff! I'm calling the city guard!" Well, let's be fair. There is a certain amount of sense to that. If somebody's esoteric knowledge actually manages to get known about thousands of miles away, you got to figure it's got a better sell. I mean, words of wisdom that don't make it past the end of the street don't generate a lot of respect. But ones that get passed on and travel around the world, well, it's like anything else. It's measured by how far away it gets as to how successful it is. If you follow what I'm saying. Okay. Thoughts so far? Hello, Daniel Meyer. You make it sound like, the threat of punishment. The point of teaching a child, the point of all the punishment is to teach a child that there are consequences. Without consequences, you've got nothing. An atheist has, they wonder. Atheists wonder why everybody think. Why do they all think that we're sociopaths? Because you just basically said that you don't believe there are any consequences. Come on, let's be truthful here. You just said that you don't think that there's any such thing as ultimate consequences. A person who believes in atheism, that there is no God, there is no afterlife, that this is a materialist believes that this is it. This is they basically said, they have fundamentally said that no matter how you live, it's all going to end the same way. The moment, this is true of anyone, the moment you decide the consequences no longer matter, there is no telling what you will not do. And what gets me is they laugh at Christians for being afraid of what God will do if we misbehave. And they call us morally. That's stupid. The Bible says that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, and that should be self-evident. They think that we're the only reason you behave is because you're afraid of the consequences. That's the only reason anybody behaves. Think about it. It's the only reason anybody behaves, because they fear the consequences. And an angry God is a pretty serious consequence. They think I'm a fool for being afraid of what God will do. I know they're a fool because they're not. Like any other blind, sinful fool, I managed to talk myself into not caring when a particular sin or temptation comes along that I don't want to resist. And I end up regretting it. God barely has to chastise humanity because the consequences of our sins are so terrible by themselves. But there are consequences beyond this life. What if we're past, present, and future? But what we do that isn't for God, that is that's selfish for ourselves. That is not, what we do that is sinful, and anything like that is going to, gone with this life and this world. Wood, hay, and stubble. Only the things that are done for God will last. Only the things that are done for God and God's way will persist. And we're going to watch as all the time and energy and effort and resources we spent on foolish, wicked things will come to nothing. Gone up in a puff of smoke. And if our behavior drives somebody away from Christ, that soul is lost forever. That's a horrible consequence. Lost opportunities, lost testimonies, lost rewards. Don't think for a minute God isn't above letting us reap the consequences of what we sow in this life. We don't just behave because we're afraid of God. We behave because we want to be praised by Him. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. We know we're not going to hear that. For when we do wrong. We obey God because we want a good relationship with Him. And when we aren't in God's will, His grace and His presence in our life are diminished. Just like with an estranged child. Fear of punishment is not stupid. But that's not just that's not the end of it. It's the beginning of wisdom. much more that comes after that. And that's what a lost person, what an atheist can never understand. Excuse me. Mm. Oh. let's see here. We got, let's see who we got in here. We got Jonathan Kruger, Lord Firebeard, Final Legend Zero, YouTuber, Ryan the King, Daniel Meyer. Yay! 3 cheers and a camel. My God, have mercy on our souls. Have pity on us, Jesus, and guide us through our darkness. Excuse me a minute, I gotta go get my dinner, as it is, out of the toaster oven. I will be right back. And I'm back. Yeah. Mm. Such is life. Pardon. Yes, I know some of you hate techno. They just live with it. Okay, because it's either this or static noise. At least it ain't Skrillex. I saw this little short video on YouTube. This guy had his phone out, his cell phone. They had this new app that lets you identify songs. You hold it up to a song that's playing, and it will recognize it and give you possible titles. The guy held the thing up to a blender, and it said Skrillex. I does here is you turn the blender on before it shows the Skrillex album. Yeah, well. Okay, let's see. Is Chris Windows in? Is Chris Windows in the channel? Sorry, I don't mean to chew in your ear. Instead of having them all in green, I'm tempted to put them in different, each in a different color. Yeah, I think I'll go with this. Actually, there should be more green. Just a little bit off. let's see. You good? Just switch this over. Yeah. Okay. You finally found a place for gizzards. We're thrilled for you, Rem Dog. He's just writing in the channel. I found a place for gizzards. And I'm okay. One little detail I forgot. See if I can't. Let's see. Let me try something here. Color. Color's got opacity. Here we go. That helps. Slightly. Tinting the leather just a little bit helps differentiate them a little bit better. That doesn't work. Might have to give him a bronze chest plate to make it stand out. I have to think about that. Read an interesting. It's still in progress. It's a work in progress. It's called The Perils of Innocence. The premise being that rather than that Harry Potter and Hermione's parents take a different approach. Their child, in both cases, Harry and Hermione start having accidental magic, as in the books. And the Dursleys basically take Harry at the age of 5 and abandon him at a psychiatric clinic. They admit him under a false name. Just abandon him there. And Hermione's parents are having just as much troubles with Hermione because of her accidental magic. And it ends up that they both end up going to this clinic where they're trying to figure out what the deal is with these kids and these strange phenomena that keep happening around them. And they actually get a lot of help. And it turns out that the people, the caretakers, are the good guys in this. And they from about the age of 5 to about the age of 11, they end up caring for Harry and Hermione. And Dean Thomas, one of the minor characters from the story, in that center. The kids are doing all this wandless magic, and then they get their letters to Hogwarts. Very interesting, different take on the story. Let me see if I can find the link. Here we go. There you go. There's the links to The Perils of Innocence. There's up to, let me see here. I'm not sure how many chapters it's up to yet. Its most recent update was the 9th of it's the author insists it's not been abandoned. It's up to 32 chapters. They've been writing in it for about 3 years now, so it's going to be slow updates. So if you're expecting lots of chapters real quick, you're going to be waiting a while. But it's a really good story. The thing of it is that because the kids get this help, by the time they get to Hogwarts, they have been practicing wandless magic for literally years. And they're being very careful about letting anybody know it, but they are much more powerful than anybody realizes. In fact, at their first meeting with McGonagall, she starts to draw. She panics, starts to pull her wand to obliviate the caretakers at the center, and the kids slap her down. They cast a shield, yank the wand out of her hand, and throw her against the wall with their magic. She's the only one out of the entire school that has an inkling of just how really powerful these kids have become just from practicing. And of course, you got a lot of fiction factors in here. The caretakers point out, you idiots, you have all these kids who are Muggle-born who have no idea what the hell is going on for the first 11 years of their life. You don't keep in, you know who they are, but you leave them out there floundering on their own. And McGonagall's like, well, we've never had a problem with it. And she's like, yeah, right. You're having a problem with 3 of them right now. What do you think's been happening over the past few centuries? And it starts to dawn on McGonagall, oh crap, how many other kids have we left adrift because we didn't contact them until they were 11? And you got to think about it. How many people? If you had an owl, you knew nothing about Harry Potter or nothing. You didn't know anything about the Wizarding World or anything like that. You never even read a story about it. And you wake up one morning and there's an owl with a letter in its beak sitting on your front step. Now, assuming you didn't call animal control and you actually opened the letter, would you believe it? Would you believe it? Would you accept it? Would you think it was a really crazy prank? Even if you'd gotten used to having all these weird, unexplained phenomenon around you, you would figure it was some crazy that had heard. You'd been on like That's Incredible or something, or read about you in Ripley's Believe It or Not, and we're trying to pull a fast one on you. And that's in the ideal circumstances. So you got to figure how many Muggle-born wizards and witches in the Harry Potter universe get their letter to Hogwarts and never show up. And a lot of the story focuses around the serious problems with the way that they handle childcare in that story series. As it happens, they do have one. The author does have one interesting twist. Now, you've read the stories. You've read The Prisoner of Azkaban. And you're going, why didn't Dumbledore? A lot of writers ask this. Why didn't Dumbledore help Sirius Black when he got thrown in Azkaban? Sirius didn't even get a trial. I mean, they've got Veritas Serum. They've got a Truth Serum that works 100% of the time. There's no reason for anybody to get a mistrial. But they never even gave Sirius a trial. They just threw him straight in prison. And Dumbledore didn't help him, even though he's supposed to have known that he was innocent. And it turns out in this story that they've got it. The author has a very interesting explanation. It turns out that Dumbledore doesn't know. In order to make sure that in order to plug up any possible security leaks. Now remember, the only people that knew that Peter Pettigrew was the secret keeper and not Sirius Black was Sirius Black, Peter Pettigrew, and Dumbledore. Dumbledore went to the length of having Lily Potter cast an enchantment on him so that he would forget too. Now there was a trigger word, a trigger phrase that would bring his memory back if Sirius Black said it to him. But because Sirius Black got thrown into Azkaban without a trial, he never saw Dumbledore. And so never got to use the phrase and never got to reveal this hidden information that he was innocent. And that comes out, and finally somebody comes up with an interesting explanation that doesn't make Dumbledore out to be a double-crosser. Dumbledore's not, in this story, it looks like Dumbledore's been up to some shenanigans anyway, but at least he's not he's not a complete villain in this story. Which is a nice change. He's what he is in the books. He's a man who did his very best. He made some mistakes. Did some things that were wrong. But by and large was still one of the good guys. I've seen a lot of stories that just rip Dumbledore up one side and down the other. No, none of the proprietors of the facility are wizards. No, none of them. I need a reference picture here. Let's see. There are a lot of people, a lot of Christians, who would be particularly upset with me for being so involved with Harry Potter fan fiction and fantasy fan fiction because of all the magic in the stories. I've had a lot of second guessing myself on that over the years, and I really don't know what to think anymore. It's been a issue that's been back and forth my entire life. I've always loved, ever since I discovered science fiction stories and fantasy stories, I loved them. I just gobbled them up, Then when I was about 12, my father started having ethical issues with it. He used to be a science fiction fanatic and reader himself. And then he decided it wasn't, he had a problem with it. That it was possibly unchristian to be reading that sort of stuff. and let's be frank, a lot of sci-fi, a lot of the sci-fi and fantasy writing out there, it's decidedly unchristian, bent, just not exactly Christian or family values oriented. And there are times when I think, I think it's just silliness, and I set it aside. I set that kind of thing aside. And then there are times where I think, would I have been better off without it? Would I have been better off sticking to a strictly biblical, strictly realistic or Christian-themed work? Would I've been better off never getting into writing fantasy stories. Sometimes I think that the controversy alone isn't worth what I get out of reading science fiction and fantasy and fantastic fiction and writing it and drawing it, and I ask myself, is it worth worth the uncertainty? I don't want to walk into the hereafter and have God look me in the eye and say, why did you waste your time? Why did you waste your time and your talents on this worldly, displeasing, this stuff that's so displeasing to me? I don't want to have that. Nobody does. Nobody wants to walk in through the pearly gates and have God look at them and say, I am displeased and disappointed in you. You wasted your life on this fruitless, un-Christian thing. But at other times I go, why would this, this is neither here nor there. It's make-believe, it's fairy stories, and it is of no real harm in and of itself. And these worries, they're as foolish as the nonsense the Pharisees got up to, with fretting people over ridiculous trivialities. then again, maybe it's just me looking over my life, over my past, over my life, and realizing that I wasted a lot of my life not doing worthwhile things. If I could go back, I'd probably screw it up again. But if I could go back, there are so many things I would want to try and do differently. And maybe it's just my impulse to try and look for one single splinter in my eye, as it were, to pull out, and go, oh, this was the problem all along. And that's one of the things. You get people who are trying to give up drinking or smoking, or who are trying to lose weight, or trying to improve themselves by taking new courses. They think that once they get this fixed, once they've passed the class, or once they've kicked the habit, or once they've dealt with that one thing, everything will be fixed. Everything will be better, and it never is. Some things are better, but some things are still there. You still got your problems. Then there are the times where you take somebody who's got one real serious problem, or one real thing that they're doing wrong, and they're not going to get anything else fixed until they get that thing out of the way. I don't know. Am I? This is my concern. Am I displeasing God? Is this it? Is this the reason that I am? You ask yourself, is this the reason that I am having so much trouble with my relationship with Christ? Is this the problem? Is that the problem? Is that over there the problem? What's the problem? How do I fix it? And can I fix it? And good night. What is this music? Good grief. What the heck?
Critics agree. Steve Jobs is a new American classic.
It's time.
From the writer of The Social Network. The board.
Steve Jobs. They're making a movie about Steve Jobs. Oh, good grief. Steve Jobs was a jerk. He really was. He was a martinet. He was abusive to his employees, and he was a thief. He stole, he stole ideas from every other company, and then he turned around and sued anybody that came within arm's reach. I'm sorry, his company sued because somebody else made a phone with rounded corners. Oh, what the heck? Really, I just don't know what to think of some people, Steve Jobs was not a nice man. He didn't bathe much either, from what I understand. He's stinky. And he died because he got obsessed with all this pseudo-medical quackery. He got cancer of I forget what, and died. Was it cancer of the liver, wasn't it? You know, I am scared to death. You know, of all the candidates that are running, right now the two that scare me the most are Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. It's going to be terrible if Hillary Clinton gets elected, but Bernie Sanders, if he gets elected, that's it. I think that's pretty much going to be it. Yeah, that's, you know, the liberals love Steve Jobs. The thing of it is that Steve Jobs never donated to charity. Steve Jobs never did any of the, you know, he never did any of the social welfare whatnots that liberals love so much. It is. My brain's skipping a groove. I can't remember him. I can't remember the name of the guy that invented Windows. It was the other guy. But they hate him. The other guy, he's I can't remember his name. What was his name? What is his name? The inventor of Windows. Bill Gates. Thank you. Forget one of the names of the century. Anyway, Bill Gates. Bill Gates has donated more to charity than the next three liberals combined. Bill Gates, in fact, is donating almost all of his wealth after he passes. You know, he's leaving it to charitable organizations. I mean, he's done darn near everything under the sun. That, you know, just fundraising charitable organizations, and he's just a decent guy. And you know, he's going a little overboard. He's not going to leave anything to his kids. I'm like, dude, you know, you could leave them your pocket change and have them set for life. Come on. You know, you think those kids are going to be happy when they're giving it off to the Save the Northwestern Fart Beetle Foundation? You know, no. But really, but still, they hate him. And in fact, Bill Clinton spent more time trying to destroy Bill Gates than he did trying to track down the terrorists responsible for the first bombing of the World Trade Center. What a farce that was. course he was a terrible student. He was too busy being a multi-million dollar mogul. I don't know if his kids have trust funds or not. I don't know. But he did say that, most of his empire, he's not going to leave his, everything to them. He's going to be, nearly all of it's going to be given away to charities and such. Oof. Ooh, no. Pardon.
Limits are things to go beyond.
Got it. I'm on my way.
To look at in your rearview mirror while you move forward. So live with nothing standing in your way. Introducing the new Microsoft Band for people who want to live healthier and achieve more. With Microsoft Band, there are no limits to what you can do. So do great things.
Let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. It's interesting how all these tunes they're playing sound very, very, very similar to, you can almost hear certain pop tunes starting to start up. The same, they have that same riff type quality. I don't know how to put it. Certain thematic similarities, I suppose you'd say. Not pleased with that either. Let's see. Got me an idea or three. It's great if I want fur. I'm looking for a pattern that says, I don't know, armor. Not finding much. Might work. Yeah, there we go. No, it's all. It's a little 2 to 2. Try that. No, that's not it either. Okay, I think we're on to something. Yeah, that Lou. Much better, actually. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I am partially colorblind. I have troubles distinguishing, in muted colors, browns, greens, grays, that sort of thing. And, alright. That's not too bad. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Let me zoom in a little bit. Still got to add some things before I'm done. But I'll handle those later. Oh, goodness. Time to turn up the heat a little. Okay. Okay. I'll be putting in the background later. Thinking of giving him an airship background. Something like that. I'll figure that out later. Oh, what else is new? Okay, look, Marvel has been a liberal poster boy for almost a decade now. For decades now. The news that Marvel Comics are attacking conservatives and Republicans, this is nothing new. I remember months ago, came out that they had several stories that featured Tea Partiers and everybody, all the superheroes were sitting around fretting that the riots were going to break out at any moment because of the Tea Partiers. What a bunch of tossers. Nothing changes. Look, they've got, let's see, they've got a Miss Marvel who is a Muslim, and it's amazing how Western cultured she is. You know, you wouldn't know she was a Muslim if they didn't tell you. It's that simple. And you know, they've let's see, they replaced Spider-Man with a Hispanic kid, half black, half Hispanic. They replaced, they turned Thor into a woman. Nova has, you know, actually it was, I forget what it is. Nova was another Hispanic kid, I think, Spanish Mexican American, and the you know, they call them Young Just, you know, I forget what they call them, the New Warriors, otherwise known as the Social Justice Warriors Incorporated. You know, and they've got at least 2 or 3 gay superheroes running around. They've never been a friend of conservatives or Christians. Now, that drawing kind of weak. That drawing of Godzilla versus that robot. I would put a lot more detail into it now, I think. Not sure where. Because that's the thing of it. You put too much detail into something, you end up with something that's, you know, overwrought. But, yeah. They're warming up. They're warming up for their Fuhrer. There's a woman who came out. There's this one woman was awarded some sort of medal or award of valor of some sort. She survived the Third Reich. And she came over and she said, you know, this is looking just like it did right before Hitler came to power. That's what she said about America. It is going to be ugly. It is coming, and it is going to be ugly. They have been polluting the culture for decades, and they're determined to take over the last tiny little corners. They're going around. That's why we had the whole Gamergate thing. They've gotten the big pieces. Now they're going after everything that's left. And it's not because the gaming community is particularly conservative. It's because it wasn't under their direct control. The simple fact that games, the gaming community, was still had good-looking women in it that men liked to look at, to put it bluntly, to put it politely, rather, was proof enough that they did not have a foothold. So long as video games had brave men, brave male characters rescuing beautiful damsels in distress, that was proof that their gender and their gender role and whole marriage, family, gender role destroying meme hadn't worked its way into the gamer community. You weren't seeing politically correct video games, and that upset them. They got into the comic book industry. They had Batman shilling for gun control. They had they've had comic books. They've used the Green Lantern, and they've been shilling for homosexuality for at least a decade. They've tried to push gay characters into the mainstream, and they're just not selling. So they're blaming the homophobia of society rather than the fact that their books suck. They took over television. They took over children's television. They took over the schools, and the internet and the gaming community was just about the last place where people could freely speak their mind without being politically corrected. And that could not stand. That's the reason that's half the reason they pounced on the game Depression Quest. And calling it a game is stretching the definition beyond all reasonable bounds. The reason that, half the reason was because it was the first foray into political correctness. And much to their tragic disappointment, the game sucked. And no amount of pimping and shilling by the gamer journalist forums could change that. And so they went on a counterattack and accused everybody who criticized the game and who smelled a rat when they found out that the writer of the game had been giving sex to one of the journalists doing the review. When people called foul, they turned around and accused everybody in the gaming community of being a bunch of sexist, homophobic, misogynist losers living in their mommy's basement. And this was the biggest miscalculation of their lives. Alinsky's rules for radicals do not work so well on the internet, where nobody gives a rat's ass. As one meme, so you know that scene in Batman, the second Batman movie, where that guy comes in and he's telling Gordon Freeman, Freeman, that he wants a payola. He's figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he wants some hush money. And Gordon Freeman looks over just gives him the look. He says, "Let me get this straight. You believe that one of the richest, most powerful and influential men in America, in Gotham, dresses up at night like a bat and goes out and beats up criminals with his bare hands, and you want to blackmail this man. Good luck." I'm like, yeah. And somebody else turned it into a meme, and basically is making fun of the Gamergate social justice warriors. He said, "Let me get this straight. You're going to go up against a group of people who will go without sleep for days on end and endure endless verbal abuse by armies of strangers for a trivial game achievement. And you're going to try and silence them and by outlasting them and verbally abusing them until they give up and go away. Good luck." Talk about picking your battles poorly. And this is the first time that they don't know how to handle the internet yet. But they'll keep trying until they find something that works. That's on the rebel flag having a new meaning, resistance to tyranny. That was what it always meant. And yes, we know it's not the actual Confederate flag. This is the Gadsden battle flag. Big whoop-de-flippin'-do. Congratulations, give yourself a cookie for knowing the difference. Yay, aren't we a clever monkey? Good on you on missing the point. I want an American flag and I want a rebel flag, and I want them both on my front porch. There are a lot of people who are saying, "Oh, why are you wasting? America is all wound up about trivialities. We ignore." Pardon. That's what people don't get. They say you're ignoring important news to pay attention to this silly, trivial thing about the flag. History is made by silly, trivial things. Do you know that the Boston Tea Party was happened because of a less than 2% tax? Hello? That's trivial. Do you know that, hello, what was, Rosa Parks? Little black lady refusing to get up and move to the back of the bus. A bus seat. It doesn't get much more trivial than that. It's trivia. It's the little things that start the thing rolling. Think about it. It's not the great important issues of the day. They're like the mass Think of an avalanche. All that, all those big, vast, important issues building and building and building and building and piling up on top of the hill. It's not any one of those things that triggers the avalanche. It's a sound, a word, somebody shouting. A tiny little sound triggers the avalanche. It'll be something trivial like that. It won't be some vastly important issue. It'll be some petty, tiny, seemingly insignificant issue to some. That's how people work. The tipping point is always by a single straw, by a single hair. It's not the tons of crushing weight. It's that last ounce. Do you get what I'm saying here? Please give me some feedback here. Talk to me. Talk to me. Love me. Talk. Where's the love? Come on. If we have another revolution in this country, if we have another civil war, I'm sorry, we had 2 revolutions. We won the first one and lost the second. If we have another American Revolution, if we have another Civil War, whatever you want to call it, it will be started by something small. I mean, what was the name of the guy who was assassinated that triggered World War I? Duke Ferdinand, yeah. Franz Ferdinand. Some tin pot duke from some rinky-tinky country that you couldn't even find on a map even back then. Eats a bullet, and the world goes mad. He didn't cause it. His death didn't cause it, but that was the trigger. It's a little teeny tiny fuse that sets off the bomb. You know what I'm saying? It's a little teeny tiny trigger that fires a cannon or launches the rocket. It's that. That's the way it's always been. Things build up to a cascade. When the troubles come, they're going to come. Mrs. O'Leary's cow, and up goes San Francisco in a ball of flame. It's a little thing. It might be something like the issue of the Gadsden flag. They're going to arrest the wrong person, or accidentally, quote unquote, shoot the wrong citizen, or pass the wrong trivial petty law, and people will go apeshit. We're talking King Kong poo here. Yeah, I know about that. Some dipswitch bought one of the cars from the Dukes of Hazzard TV show, and now, to pander to people who weren't even alive when the show was on the air. He's going to paint over the flag on the roof. Idiots. The people in the South were a bunch of racist a-holes. Yeah, the people in the North were even worse. The only reason that slavery became an issue is because they could figure that because they were losing the war and they needed some propaganda to stir the people up. The people in the the Confederacy treated free black people better than the people in the North did. You don't think so? Get this. In the North, a black Union soldier got paid a fraction of what a white one did. In the South, it was law. It was law on the books that any black man who joined the Confederate Army was, and there were lots of them. There were hundreds, there were thousands of black men who joined the Confederate Army to fight against the North. And by Confederate law, black soldiers were to be paid the exact same. Slavery is a terrible institution, but many of the evils that they associate with slavery were grossly exaggerated. In the South, many black slaves regarded themselves as members of their family. They had one man, a black man, wrote, and he saw the young boy he helped raise come back from the Civil War, from the battlefield, and half his face was gone, blown off by a Union cannon. The boy was alive, but he was maimed for life, and they said the black man, he just wept, and he said he wished to God he could kill him a Yankee for what they did to their white people. Slavery wasn't the slavery that was going on, even as wrong as it wasn't as simple as they portray it. I've had people point out to me, I used to brag about the fact, we went to war to end slavery. What did you do? They said we ended it, and come to realize they ended slavery without tearing their country in half. The Civil War didn't start because of slavery. The Civil War started because the South was being treated like a vassal state. The Civil War started because the South seceded. That was it. And in fact, there were at least 2 states that joined the Confederacy because they were horrified at what the federal government was doing. It hadn't been that long. People weren't dumb. They remembered that that America seceded from the British Empire. If the South did not have a right to secede from the North, then America never had a right to secede from the British Empire. They were I forget which state it was. They said basically they were horrified because these people seceded and the federal government marched on them and started killing people to keep them from leaving. The South was a woman that wanted a divorce. The North was her drunk husband who dragged her back by her hair. And whooped her till she learned her place. Yes, many of the constitutions of the states, the states that left the Union in their declarations, individual declarations, many of them declared they were doing it to preserve their peculiar institution of slavery. But it wasn't the only reason they were leaving either. They said that too. And let's be fair here. The Union didn't want to deal with slavery properly. They didn't want to go through the channels. They didn't want to go through the system that was supposedly built to handle this sort of thing. They were smuggling slaves out of the South. They were sending people down who were starting. There was a serious danger here. People talk about, you remember John Brown. He tried to start a armed insurrection among the slaves. I want you to picture these slave, the people in South. Most of them didn't own slaves. Most of the white people didn't own slaves at all. In fact, there were a large number of free black people who owned slaves living in the South. One of the first things that many free black men did was go out and buy themselves some slaves, and not to free them. The first slave owner in the United States who asserted his right to own a slave in perpetuity was a black man. And the Northerners were out there. The North was giving lip service on one side to law and order and respecting the South's laws and everything else, and then turning around and trying to start murderous insurrections in the South's backyard. Blacks were being treated poorly. They were being treated poorly in the North, and in many ways they were being treated worse in the North. The North was just using them as a political football. It was an ugly thing. They should have let the South go. If they wanted to end slavery, if they had really wanted to end slavery, they would have done it without waging war on their own neighbors. They were never doing it to end slavery in the first place. They were doing it to keep. They were doing it to keep a monopoly. Actually, they had among the many issues that the South had with the North was that. While the North sneered at the South for owning slaves, the North was the one getting rich off of slave labor. They had protective tariffs that made it impossible for the South to compete in international markets. They had to funnel everything up through the North. In order to conduct business. And one of the largest slave trading companies was in the North, even though there were supposed to be no slaves or slave owners in the North. They were based in the North. It was a massively screwed up situation. And nobody was interested in going to war at all with the South. In fact, many were talking about reconciliation. Then letting them go and peaceably negotiating, just treat them like another country. But then they realized, once the South seceded, the South would drop all the tariffs. And the North, they would literally shut the North out of the international trade because they would drop the tariffs, and either the North would have to drop the tariffs too, or the South would shut them out by simple competition. And various voices of influence and wealth started agitating to go down there and whoop them rebellious Southerners back into their rightful place. Are you starting to get the picture here? It was more about money than it was ever about slavery. But the slavery issue made a great halftime rallying speech. It ended slavery. Oh, yes, indeed. But it laid the groundwork for the federal government to enslave all of us equally. We had a terrible problem, an evil system, and we found the worst possible way to solve it. I've read and I've ragged on about this too. Should we have fought the Civil War? No, should have never come to that point. Of course, you could go on all the way back to the American Revolution. That problem was deep rooted. I mean, look at it. Here's something to chew on. In the middle of the war, the South, the Confederacy, sent representatives to France and England asking for aid to fight off the Union. And all they could offer is said, we will end slavery unilaterally in exchange for help. France said, sure, we're all for it, so long as the British go along with it. And the British said, go get bent. So the South fell. You go back to the Revolution. First of all, the black people who fought in the American Revolution, many of them fought because they were promised their freedom after the war was over. After the war was over, Washington reneged on that promise. In fact, as the British were retreating out of the colonies, they loaded up several hundred or several thousand fleeing blacks into the British boats and brought them back to England, where they were declared free. And George Washington, had the audacity to send representatives to England demanding the return of their lawful property. England told him to go get bent. If you go back into your history books looking for angels, you're not going to find any. You're not going to be told a lot of the truth either. If you go back looking for people who were perfect and flawless, that did everything right and didn't, and never came down on the wrong side of an issue, you're out of luck. You look at the civil rights crusade. Much good was done by the civil rights movement, but in all the fanfare, a lot of evils slipped through. You don't think so? Think about this. Think about this very, very carefully. Think about this very, 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 very carefully. Why is it acceptable for black people to come into a white person's place of business and force him to wait on them and to serve them and to buy and sell with them? Why is that acceptable? Why is it not acceptable for a white man to do the same thing to a black business? Here's an idea. It's wrong for both. It's called freedom of, I've harped on this issue before, freedom of association. It was one thing when the civil rights movement was out to banish unjust laws. The Jim Crow laws, for instance. Giving people the right to vote, protecting the right to vote, protecting access to government services. And, it's another irony. Everybody was fighting to get their kids into the public schools which never should have existed in the first place. It probably would have done the black community far better to never put their kids in the public school system at all. To educate them themselves, to use private schools, and to keep their kids out of the hand of the government. That's the irony of it. The civil rights movement consisted of a large number of people fighting for all they were worth, for the right to put their children in the clutches of the federal government. Think about that. We demand you confiscate our children for 9 months out of the year and brainwash them. We demand the right to have our children turned against us by government-owned teachers. We demand the right to have our money confiscated from us and used to teach our children to hate us. We want a free education at the cost of our children's minds. Should have just stayed out. Isn't that the irony of it? They fought like demons to get the government, to force the government to confiscate their children. And then they turned around and they started forcing private businesses to forfeit their right. They forced private individuals and businesses to forfeit their right to freedom of association. Freedom of association is the right to buy, sell, trade, and intercourse with anybody you choose, or not to, for whatever reason you choose. You should not have to justify why you do or do not do business with somebody. Period. It's basically the right to be an a-hole. Okay? You have a God-given right to not do business with somebody for whatever reason. Because you don't like their ugly mug. Because you don't like because you don't like their policies, their religion, their culture, their language, their hairstyle, their skin color. It doesn't matter. You have the right to say no, and they have the right to say no to you. But we're not allowed to exercise that right in this country, thanks to the excesses of the civil rights movement. And now, they laid the groundwork. Now you can't refuse access to people who belong to a religion of homicidal maniacs. Now you're not allowed to deny. You're not allowed to say no. I don't want to engage in trade or business with a bunch of sexual perverts. No, you're not allowed to anymore. Why? Because the civil rights movement went beyond assuring equal government representation and started trying to force people to like one another against their will. The purpose of the civil rights movement was not to force people to like you. It was to keep them from lynching you. You do not have... the problem is, it was supposed to guarantee your rights, but you do not have an inalienable right to the sweat of the brow of any other human being. You do not have a right to their products or their service. That's the irony of it. It consisted of a minority made up of descendants of former slaves forcing the government to give them the privilege to make other people work for them against their will. If you don't see the irony in that, I don't know how else to phrase it. Ex-slaves demanding the right to make slaves of other people. And I don't care if they paid for the sandwich after they forced you to make it. Massa used to give pocket money to his slaves after they did a good job polishing his shoes. That didn't make the fact that they were slaves any less true. A slave is somebody who works for you against their will. The fact is, forcing somebody to engage in trade or to engage in trade or in exchange of goods or services against their will is slavery. We reserve the right to refuse service. Yes. But you're not allowed to. You have that right, but you're not allowed to exercise it. If you refuse service to anybody, they can accuse all they have to do is twist your words to make it sound like you refuse them because of their skin color or their religion or any one of another number of specific reasons. It all boils down to them. You have the right to refuse service to some people, unless they're on a particular list of protected classes, privileged classes, that the government keeps on a desk someplace. I demand the right to refuse service to this person. These are my products. I do not want to sell them to him. He does not have enough money to buy them from me. As far as I'm concerned, I do not want to work with him. I do not want to sell to him. Well, that's fine. Wait, why is it? Well, he's a Muslim. He wants to build a bomb to blow up my home. Oh, nope. Muslims are on the protected list. Guess your freedoms just got curtailed. And yeah, if you refuse, I'm speaking. This is my right to say it. If you refuse if you refuse to provide service to somebody because of their color of their skin, you're an a-hole. You're a schmuck. You're a mashugana. You're a jerk. You're a racist, but that's your right. And you know what? Here's how it works. Man walks down the street. He tries to go into a business. The business says, no, I don't want your kind in my store. And the guy says, okay, you're an a-hole. And flips him the bird and walks out. He walks down the street. Here's another store. And he goes in and the guy says, hey, we like your kind here. Come in here. We don't care what kind yours. Your money's green. Don't care. What do you want? And so from that time on, the guy walks past the first store and goes to the second store. Pretty soon, everybody that the guy didn't, we don't like your kind in here. Fine. That kind will go down the street and give all their business and all their money to the second store. And the second store will thrive while the first store languishes. That is the cold, analytical, impartial justice of the open market. Well, what if that's the only store the only store in the town? Well, surprise. That's a good sign that you should you should open up a little shop of your own, isn't it? Dumbass doesn't want to serve a few thousand people living in his own town because they got the wrong color of skin or the wrong hairstyle or the wrong way of dressing. Whatever. Let him. Great. And isn't it a wonderful thing? Shay A-hole over here. He's not getting any. The only business he will get is other a-holes. And so you have all the people who have comments, all the other people walking up to store number 2, and all the a-holes nobody wants to be around going to store number 1. It's a beautiful thing. Isn't it? All the miserable, all the miserable sexist, racist, homophobic, whatever, can be over here in this little store, minding their own business, not being bothered, and not bothering anybody else. But no, let's force them together. That works so marvelously, hasn't it? The purpose of the civil rights movement was to stop the law from discriminating. It just invented a new kind of discrimination. It created a list of people who were to enjoy certain privileges. The privilege and forcing the management to serve them, to sell to them, to buy from them, to hire them. And what is the consequence? Once they created it, they opened the floodgates. If one special interest group could force other people to serve them, pretty soon every special interest group is jockeying to get the name of their special interest group on that special list of privileged people. And don't pretend for an instant that they're not. We're living in a day and age where a Olympic athlete. You don't think that women are enjoying privilege over men, or black people are enjoying privilege over white people. Hello, we had a white woman, a white blonde woman. I mean, she was as Aryan as the day is long. You know what I'm saying? She was blonde. And she went out and she got a hair crimper. And she crinkled up her hair, dyed it dark brown, and put on some spray-on tan, and passed herself as a black woman for over a decade. If being black is such a desired thing that people will go out of their way to do, even violating the laws to pass themselves as one, that pretty much established that we can rethink the whole idea of them being an oppressed minority. When people are trying to pass themselves off as one of your people, you're no longer an oppressed minority. Big hint. we live in a day and age where a successful, a gold medal Olympiad went out to the weenie whacker farm and got himself mutilated to look like a woman. And there's good evidence he did it because he believes that he's being investigated for a vehicular homicide, and there is evidence to indicate that he did it because he believes that a woman will get a lighter sentence. And there you have it. I guess from now on, when people think that they're Napoleon, we're going to go out, give them plastic surgery, dress them up in a little Napoleon hat, and send them off to rule France. Oh man, you do not want to know some of the. I've read up things you don't know about sex change operation. Just. Oh, I can't even tell you what some of the side effects are. Okay, I'll say it. Okay. Ingrown vaginal hair. You see, when they hack up a man and turn him into, they basically take his penis and turn it inside out to make the vagina. And one of the side effects is that hair sometimes grows inside the vagina. The fake vagina, whatever you want to call it. That's one of the milder problems. Ah! Now, I read that. I was I read what interesting, things about sex change operations you don't know. And I read that, and little hatch just popped open on the back of my head. My brain hopped out and just got down on the floor and just ran around in circles. Ah! Why? Packed its luggage and left, No. I just want you to just treasure that memory now. You will never forget that, no matter how hard you try. Revenge. No, but yeah. No. When people will go out of their way to lie about being a member of a quote-unquote oppressed minority in order to take advantage of the privileges afforded to that minority is no longer sufficiently, you can no longer qualify sufficiently as oppressed. Are there people out there who are still racist and give black people a hard time? Yes! That's called life. Okay? Are you breathing? Then somebody out there hates your guts. Hitch up your man panties and deal. You are not oppressed just because there are people out there who want to be a jackass to you. It takes a little bit more to qualify on that list. Okay, it is 9:41. It's 9:41, and I am going to call it a night. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow at 6. Pick up where we left off. I'm going to try and get more work done instead of being a lazy bum. I'll catch you then. When I say it, I mean it sincerely. Say a prayer for me, because God knows I need them. Thank you all for tuning in. You all have yourselves a good night.